Facebook folks, all the above. Hey, Eric, good to see you. What's up, Just Nice? Hello, hello. This is a little bit different today. I am trying something different. So we're going to see how this goes. What's up, Aunt Tosh? How are you? Good afternoon, David. What's up, Susie? Hey, you watched me last night. Hey, Nina. Yeah, I was on Twins live for quite a while. I definitely was doing that. And sure. Oh, no, I don't want to do all of that right now. What's up, MG Brock? Good to see you as well. So listen, folks, I am doing my best today to try something a little bit different to see if it helps with the streaming. It was wild, was it not? What's up, Blue Nevada? It was wild last night. So if you were not on, hey, Bernard, how are you? What's up, Winn-Dixie? Hey, Garfield, what's up? Hello, everyone. I am trying to make this work for me, and we'll see if it does or not. Okay, so thanks, Miss Chima. I appreciate that. What's up, Cheryl? Good to see you as well. So I am trying something different today. We're going to see how this works. I literally have 3 different devices going right now. And the reason I want to try that is I want to see, hey, the other Cheryl, hey, Winn-Dixie, hey, Conchita, is I want to see if this actually helps in terms of the delay that we were getting on Facebook and that we were getting on YouTube. So if you guys are watching on Facebook, if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure that you let me know if this is better than it usually is, right? And YouTube folks, I'm trying you on a brand new device. So we're going to see how this works at all. What's up, Lisa? Good to see you. Yeah, last night was wild. I will tell you something that I do like about when I am on somebody else's live. I am not the person having to manage everything. What's up, Sunny? Good to see you. Hey, Aline. Sunny, you should have had someone reach out to you. I am the Marine, I believe is her name. Hey, Nance, good to see you. She just needs some assistance, and you're the person that is the guru when it comes to veterans assistance. And so I gave her your TikTok information, told her to send you a message and let you know that I sent her. So hopefully she did that. So hey, everybody. So yeah, last night it was something, wasn't it? But I'll tell you what I do like when I am on someone else's live and I don't have to manage the whole thing. I like it. All I get to do is participate in the conversation. I don't have to really worry about anything else, right? I just get to participate in the conversation, which is not always the case when I'm like this, right? So I do like it sometimes when I get to go on somebody else's space and just kick back and let them worry about moderating and who they let in and who they don't let in and who gets booted and who doesn't. What's up, Donaski? Hey, Tam Bam, User Blessed, Gummy Nerd. Good to see you all. So YouTube folks, I cannot see your comments and I don't know why, but I don't like it. Live chat. Okay. I'm trying this differently, on YouTube, and why can't I see messages? Yeah, Rylene, it was cool. I don't often do it, but when I do, I really do like it. Where in the absolute hell are the messages on here on YouTube? Maybe nobody's commenting. Maybe that's what it is, and that's why I can't see them. So if you are on Facebook, please make sure that you also comment, because I cannot see you until you do that, because I'm doing it on a desktop. So I have 3 different things that I want to talk about today. What's up, John? Hey, Linda Sims. What's up, Chef Ryan? Good to see you. Yeah, when I held my head. What's up, Susan? Good to see you too. Yeah, listen, there was a point or two last night. So I don't know if y'all saw me. If you were not on TikTok last night, you have no idea what we're talking about. But last night I was on TikTok for quite a while, but I was on someone else's live. And when I'm on someone else's live, it gives me the opportunity. Hey, Dilgrave, good to see you. It gives me the opportunity to just kind of participate in their topics. And okay, Rylene. Camille, what? Camille said you really had me wanting to fight my phone last night. All right. Oh, Eric, I can see you over there on YouTube. Perfect. Thank you for testing that out. I appreciate it. What's up, Ja? Hey, Alice. Good to see you. So we were over there on we were over there on Twins Live last night for quite a while, right? And so there was a lot of discussion. There was a couple of prompts, right? So one of the prompts last night was, are the tariffs, like because at that time the court had paused the tariffs. We know now that they have stayed that pause, right? And I can see you, Raylene. Thank you. But that was the discussion was, are the tariffs, is pausing it a good thing or not a good thing for the country, for the globe, for us, for whoever? And then the other prompt that Twin had up last night was, do white people have culture or is it all borrowed? And so, as you can imagine, it was quite an intense conversation. What's up, Mr. Barrios? First Timothy took you out. You are not kidding. So, YouTube is all good. I love that. Thank you. Is it better this way, Raylene? Right, Kim? So you notice I did not say stolen. His prompt was borrowed, so we stuck with borrowed, right? But it was a lot. And so Eric, you are welcome to join the conversation, right? Girls, not so loud. You are welcome to join the conversation, and we really want to do that today. So I do have the guest boxes pulled up and available for you. What you got to see was Al. Pull up was a lot, right? And so it's really, really interesting when we get to have those conversations. Hey, Thomas Griffin. So yeah, Conchita, it was a lot. We were on there for quite a while. And so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you are on TikTok and you would like to join this conversation, then please go ahead and request to come up, and we'll discuss it. We will discuss your thoughts, your things. Now, for those of you all that are on Facebook and YouTube, you can't see the prompts that I have on TikTok. Hold on one second. I'm going to ask you all to not scream since you're sitting beside each other. That's it, okay? Well, you might not realize that you are, baby, but y'all are talking real loud. Okay? All right. Yeah, Linda Sims, you missed it. What's up, Blue Nevada? Okay, so there are 3 prompts that I have up, right? 1 is Musk is out. Did he actually accomplish anything? 2, yeah, Raylene, I saw Eric's test comment. So, and then the second prompt is, if Trump, quote unquote, won the tariff fight with China, why is he now complaining that they aren't complying, right? So I think this is one of the things, yesterday he was like, China violated our agreement. And then one of the people from the administration went on a couple of news shows saying that, there were other things that China, they lowered the tariffs, but there were other countermeasures that China was kind of slow walking them on. And so, there's this question, there's a lot of Trump supporters will say things like, he's just, working with China. And thanks, Nance. And he got China to back down. And well, if that's the case, if China is so Trump friendly and doing whatever Donald Trump says, why are they now saying that that China is not doing what he wants them to do, right? If that's the case. And then the last prompt is, are Trump's immigration tactics unconstitutional, morally wrong, or both? And so I really want to have these conversations today. What's up, Stacy D in the place to be? What's up, Wawa? Hey, Lady J, good to see you as well. So please go ahead and request to come up. If you are on TikTok, I would appreciate that. And put yourself on mute until I can get to you. I'm going to open up the boxes so that we can really have a robust conversation today. I am planning to hang out for a bit. And kind of excited about that because I got the kiddos today. They went took them to physical therapy. We are back. They are fed and entertained, and so we should be good to go. So if you would like to pop in and help in this discussion, please feel free to do so. YouTube and Facebook, you guys should be able to hear this entire conversation. And so we're going to start with Garfield because you requested up first. What's up, poet? Garfield, good morning. How are you? Garfield Faison. Garfield going once. I don't think Garfield meant to request up, y'all. I really don't think Garfield meant to request up, which is okay. All right. All right, Lisa, you were with me on Twins Live last night.
Yeah, we were. I said in the chat, we were in the presence of greatness. We didn't know it. We had Marianne Bowser's, bestie up there, and he was telling us what we should be doing. Apparently, we ain't doing shit.
Right. But listen, and it's Marianne Bowser, not Muriel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He renamed her and everything.
I didn't even catch that, but yeah, he did. Yes, he did. But to your prompts, Danny, Musk is out. Yeah, but I think he's out because he did accomplish everything that he set out to do. He went in there. He stole all of our data. And just like I said right from the beginning, he was going to use it to help program his AIs to replace government employees.
Yep.
Right. So he's going to come back in about a year and say, yeah, you can get rid of all these government employees because I have a program that will do our job.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Yep. He cemented his federal contracts. Plus, he got more, right? He stole the Verizon contract.
Yeah.
Plus, now he's working on this Golden Dome contract that he's going to get. You know that they created that for him because we already have a system in place that like it's not called a dome, but it does the same kind of thing. Well, I don't have to tell you. You know, we have anti-QQ systems already in place.
Yep.
I think he's still got a strong connection to Donald Trump.
Yep.
I think the separation is for show.
Yes.
Because he's trying to revamp his image.
Yep.
And Elon was also bringing down Trump's approval rating. Mm-hmm. So this is going to help them both.
And Tesla stock.
And Tesla stock and
yes.
his companies and all this stuff. He's going to try to rebrand himself as kind of like a center, like lefty, right? Like, I'm on both sides. I just call balls and strikes. I think that's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Trump is always going to complain. The second one, Trump is always going to complain about China no matter what. And it never makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Trump's immigration tactics are unconstitutional and morally wrong.
I agree on almost all of that. And let me say this. So I want to read a comment that's coming from Facebook. It says, your comments are very exciting, and I find that your subject matter is exactly what I want to talk about. We all should be enraged. We all need to let the people know how wrong this is. It went really fast. Hold on. So James, so here's the thing. So I have most of the panel is coming up on the TikTok side of the world because I'm running 3 separate devices today for the first time. Because I don't know if I can bring you live up here the way that I'm set up today. Here's what I will say to you. Let me see. Nope, I cannot. Let me just see real quick. I am checking things out. Yeah, so here's what I would say. So James, if you want to come join the panel, if you are on TikTok, you can find me over there at the Dani Cook on TikTok, and I'll be happy to bring you up to the panel. Be happy to bring you up and bring you on so that you can participate in the discussion. Okay, so Lisa, here's what I think. I think that did Elon Musk, and maybe that was the wrong choice of words, right? So this prompt says, Musk is out. Did he actually accomplish anything? And I guess the question should be, did DOGE accomplish anything? Because Elon Musk required nothing's required to come up. James, all you got to do is hit the little request icon and you'll come right up. Yeah, so like I don't have to wear guests. I don't have my TikTok set up that guests have to pay in order to join the panel. That's not set up. If people choose to gift, then that's great. If they don't, that's fine too. But no, I don't require gifting in order for people to join the panel. Yeah, that's not a thing for me. I know some creators do that. That is not your girl. That's not how I roll, right? Okay, so let me say this. I do think that Musk accomplished everything that he wanted. I think what he wanted was to absolutely get the data of the American people. I think he absolutely wanted to see how the systems within our government work, so that he could tweak them for the things that he's doing, right? I think he's, like you said, Lisa, gotten the Verizon contract and those types of things. When it comes to, has DOGE actually done anything? The answer is pretty much no. Right. So I went to BBC's website and a couple of other websites today, and I was reading a lot of the analysis that's being done for the savings that DOGE has claimed to be able to accomplish for the country. And the vast majority of them have no documentation. I believe it's only about 30% are linked to documents to actually show something. And even those documents don't actually say that they've saved what they've saved. So sometimes the document will be about a government contract, and that government contract will have a dollar amount there. But that contract might be for 5 years or for 10 years, and that contract might be being renewed every single year. And so the number that's there is the total number that would be the top out figure, but it may not be what's actually even been spent at this point in time, right? And so much of it has turned out to be nothing. And I think we went from saying he was going to trim $1 trillion by the end of next year. Then it went down to half that. And now it's like $150 billion, which is nothing when, the budget is almost $7 trillion a year, right? So I think that it's really important that we take note of, it was, in my opinion, this is just my humble opinion, this trim the fat, find the fraud, abuse, and waste was a cover to get Elon Musk into the federal government, to get all of the data and all of the technological information that he wanted for his systems and his companies. That's my personal opinion.
And also, Dani, something that I should have said too when I was doing my little monologue thing about Musk is that part of what he did was go in and shut down the agencies that was regulating him and his buddies.
Yes.
So, right, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the National Labor Relations Board were all investigating him. Even OSHA, he was trying to get OSHA shut down because of like Tesla violations for workers and stuff like that.
100%.
So that's another thing he was trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. The person in the comments who said you need accountants, not hackers, if you want to find fraud, waste, and abuse. Exactly. Also, when you think about, no, they're not 100%. But so just to get our information is exactly right. But think about the people that have been put in places and over certain systems. Like, if you are interested in actually taking care of our natural resources and our planet, you do not hire the big oil guy. You do not appoint the big oil and gas guy to be in charge of that. Like, you don't. It's just like everything is the opposite of what it should be, which is why I think a lot of us refer to it as being in the upside down world. And so, I'm familiar with Midas Touch. I'm familiar with them, Nance, 100%. Be happy to join them. And on that note, let me say this. I did find out this morning that I will be back on the Dean Abdallah show, which is on Sirius XM radio. It's on their Progress channel, which is, channel 127. It will be next week. As soon as I get the date and the time slot, I will let you all know when that is going to be. What's up, Carla? How are you?
Dani, did you see, I just saw this morning, but it's like every time I try to tell somebody, I just can't stop laughing because it's ridiculous. So they are trying to implement this new thing for higher-end federal employees where you have to do an essay about your favorite Trump executive orders.
Stop it.
I know.
Stop.
It's so crazy. It's so funny. Like, that's not going to fly. There's no way that that's a thing. It's so illegal that it's just insane.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, countdown to the next court ruling. James, 3, 2, 1.
Yep. And James, you're right. So James is saying over here on Facebook, all of the agency's watchdogs have been removed. Exactly. Those are one of the things. And so if you all don't know, so the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, is having tremendous trouble getting DOGE and other parts of the government to respond to their inquiries. And so the whole point is, I know, Merlot, that's why the immigration question is up there. But, this is an issue, folks. Like, you can't be, let me just say that. I mean, you can, right? You can. I say you can't be because to me, it just doesn't make logical sense, right? But if you are truly interested in the well-being of the country, if you are truly interested in making sure that we do not have fraud, that we do not have abuse of our systems, that we don't have any of that, then you would want the Government Accountability Office to be able to inquire as to the actions of the agencies of the federal government. Like, to think that you don't want the checks and balances tells me you're not really interested in the checks and balances. So for the person who asked me about Obama deporting 3 million people, you can come and ask me that question, Ken Stokes. Feel free to join the panel and we can talk about that. 100%, right? I like to have a full out discussion without going back and forth in the chat, because when you say Obama deported 3 million people without due process, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is cite your source, because that's not how Barack Obama deported people. That's not what happened. And so I'm going to ask you for your source. And if you can't provide that, then we're gonna start there. I guess the second thing that I would ask you is, it's funny when people come in and they'll say, but what about what Obama did? And what about what whatever did? This is the question that I would ask you. If a previous president did something that was wrong and unconstitutional, does that mean that it's okay for this president? Right? Is that what that means? So let me just ask you this. So, I mean, Nixon did Watergate, right? So based on what Nixon did, is it okay for any president moving forward to be involved in actions like Watergate? I'm just asking, because the whataboutisms are taking me out, right? The whataboutisms are taking me out. And Ken, I don't see that you've requested to come up. Come on up here if you want to actually have the conversation. Geez, oh, Pete. Because at first, when people first started bringing up that little tidbit about Obama, the first thing that they said was, oh, well, Obama deported more people than Trump did. Now they've added the without due process. Why is that? You've added without due process because that is one of the main legal issues about what Donald Trump is doing. He is doing without due process does make it unconstitutional, period. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how you try to spin it. If people do not have due process, that violates the Constitution, period. That's it. Period. You can argue that, but your argument will have no validity and no facts, because we can read the Constitution. Period. Right? Bernard, you joined up next. What you got? You got something you want to offer?
You can drop me down, Dan.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I
You're
gotta go
welcome.
get in the shower and get back to work.
Appreciate you, hon. Appreciate you. See you later, Lise.
You too.
Bernard. I think that was an accident as well. You know what tickles me about this? People that can't stand Barack Obama are busy talking about how many people he deported. That should make you love him. You should love Obama, right? The way you love Trump. You should love Obama for all the deportations that happened. Right? Since you want this mass deportation, why are you mad? Hey, Bernard, you back? Could you not find a way to get off mute?
Right. You can drop me, Dana, please.
Okay, I got you. No worries. Sometimes people are tapping to like the screen, and then what happens is they tap their way right into the request box. What's up, Warner? How are you? Yeah, so Nick Knack, go ahead and join the panel. Let's talk about what you voted for. Let's do that. Come on, Nick Knack. Nick, what did you say your name is? What is your name? Nick Knack. Nick Knack Paddywhack. Give a dog a bone. Come up on the panel. Let's talk. Because I think it's really important, right? To be able to have like a real viable conversation. Kim, don't laugh at me. What's up, Kimmy? How are you? Hey, Valerie. Right, Stacy. I mean, come on. Let's have the conversation. I don't do the hide in the comments, be keyboard warriors with no facts, with no substance to back it up. If you're going to make a claim, if you're going to say, yep, then let's talk about it. Like, stand 10 toes down, say it with your chest, and be behind what you support. If this is what you support, come say this is what you support. And let's have a conversation as to why you support it. What's up, Swells? Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great, Dani. How are you?
I'm amazing.
You seem amazing. But,
Yeah. What you got for me?
I popped up here because you were talking about Elon and, he's stepping back. And something, and you probably mentioned it and I just didn't hear you, but something that he also got out of his role were a lot of government contracts.
Yep.
And I do that for a living. And so it really bothers me when people don't understand how much he circumvented this process. Because, the contracts that he got specifically were probably directly awarded to him. They were never out for bid for anyone else to compete for. And they're billions of dollars.
Yep.
And the one thing that people knick-knack, I know he's had government contracts, fully aware of that. Thank you. Come up and talk if you have any balls. But I will say that the government contracts that he was awarded were specifically worded so that only his company could win them.
Yeah,
Very similar to Oklahoma, the Bible situation, that the only Bible that fit that criteria was the Trump Bible. And so it's stuff like that when you look at these government contracts and you go to like the DOGE website and see the contracts, oh, look, he actually came up. How special.
Yep.
He or she, I don't know. But I just think that that's very alarming as someone that competes for government contracts, that these rather large contracts that he was awarded just in this time during the presidency were not out for bid for any other company to try and get. And it actually circumvented the entire governmental contract process. So.
100%. And I think that's the part that's really important. When people understand that, people will say, oh, well, it went through a bidding process. But if the way that it is written specifically for a particular company to meet all of the criteria, then it's not really up for bid. Then it's not really up for competition, right? For all of these people that love capitalism and talk about the free market, right? It's not really that if it's met and so that the criteria is developed to specifically meet one person, right? And so that's the part that's really important. So,
well, and these DOGE contracts that he's deleting, and I'll drop down right after this so you can have your combo with this person. The DOGE contracts that he's deleting, and once I have time in my life, I would really like to go through all of those because it's very easy to find these contracts and it's reference numbers, ID numbers, just Google it. SAM.gov has all of this information. And so what's really shocking to me is I've looked into a couple of these contracts and I just don't see how they're not going to have to fulfill these services that they're trying to delete. And so I would be more concerned with seeing if these contracts that they're deleting were awarded to minority or small businesses that are XBEs, and that's why they're deleting them in order to award them to larger companies. Because the need for these services, I don't know if that's going away. Mm-hmm. And so are they just deleting the contracts for these businesses and then awarding them later on to other things and saying, oh, we saved all this money, but they didn't. They just deleted current contracts and subbed them out with ones later, you know?
And that's a lot. So there is there's a great breakdown from the BBC where they absolutely took all of the data and they went to the site and they researched all of the contracts. I'll put it in the link tree if you want me to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. But they absolutely did do that. They did a verify where they went into every single contract. It's specifically a department of BBC. That's just like a verify or a fact check department. And they actually brought in the government expert that they brought in is the guy who actually helped develop the database that houses all the contracts. So he definitively knows how that system works, what the database is reporting, what the numbers are and what they could be and all of those things. And so the only saving they're claiming, they want to get to to 2 trillion. Then they said they were going to get it to 1 trillion by the end of next year. And then they say it's $160 billion. The thing is, there's only $32.5 billion that has a receipt attached. And then when you get into the receipt and you get into the contract, some of them have actually, so there's a zero amount that's been spent on the contract so far.
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, it literally says, it lists them for you. This is it. It's the Federal Procurement Data System. That's the system. And they brought in Dave Drapkin. He is a federal contracts expert who actually helped develop that system. And so
Oh,
he
God
talks
bless
about
him.
the maximum figure that's listed in there, what the actual paid price could be, and why it should be treated with caution. Because there's a lot of different things. And so this is a great article. I will throw it up in the link tree and make sure folks are able to see it. But it was reading this that made me put up the prompt today that says, did they really accomplish anything? Because it's very questionable, right? Very,
Oh, I
very
think
questionable.
It's very questionable. And something with, I looked at a few of the government contracts, and I can't wait to look at that link you're sending me, because this is something that has plagued me, is that oh, sorry, that guy left. I'm taking too much time.
Don't apologize.
But I like, since I like do this, I know like 5-year contracts will say, okay, it's worth a 10 million 5-year contract. But what if you've spent 9.8 of it?
Yes.
And so what they're saying is, oh, we saved $10 million. We deleted this contract, but 9.8 was already spent, so that's not accurate.
Right.
And so they have had to repair a lot of that on the DOGE website because they were inaccurate with that stuff.
Yep.
So.
And there's so James, come over to the TikTok world. Come to TikTok and find me, and then you can join on the panel. So because I'm on 3 different devices, and so I don't have Facebook set up to where you can join on this device. So you have to come over to the TikTok world to join the panel. But let me say this. So one of the things that is said, so one of the contracts that they have claimed, that DOGE claimed to eliminate, to terminate, and to save this money, the company actually came back and reported and said, no, this contract was actually terminated last summer under the Biden administration, not in 2025 under the Trump administration. It's really, really, this is it. Okay, so it's Centennial Technologies. So,
Yes, I looked at that one.
Yep.
Oh my God.
100%.
Yes.
And so they said the contract start date is listed as August 2024, and it was going to run until 2031. But it was actually canceled last autumn under the Biden administration. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah, it's
All right,
really,
well, thank
it's
you for
really
what you
interesting.
do. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
This is just
appreciate you
insane.
too. Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Yeah, you too. Haley Bailey, did you mean to request up? Hey Bailey, did you mean to request up? Sometimes people tap their way in here. I don't think so. Maybe not. Okay, so just a reminder, okay, I got you. I took you down. No problems, Bailey. So, I really believe in the heart of hearts that really Trump is doing God's work, and they'll just wait to see how it ends. So he says that he thinks that there are some people who really believe in their heart of hearts that Trump is doing God's work, and they'll just wait to see how it ends in the end. What do I think about that? Here's what I think about that. I think that there's a reason that we want to have, you're getting dropped. I don't see you. You're not in mine. I don't see you. So here are my thoughts about what you just said. I think that we don't if you want to pray about something in your own individual life and wait to see how that turns out, then that's absolutely fine. But there's a reason why we have the separation of church and state, right? And so this is just my belief, and I have said this more than a time or two, okay? My personal opinion is that the Trump campaign was able to work their way in to the American public the way that they did, using primarily 2 roads. Those 2 roads are racism and religion. And under the umbrella of religion is where you get the transphobia that they focus on, right? The LGBTQIA individuals, that focus, you get that under the heading of religion, right? That's where you get the other intersectionalities. Okay, that's also where you get the conversations around AB and all of that, right? And then racism is what racism is. So anybody that knows the history of the Republican Party absolutely understands that their goal has been the Southern strategy since the days of Nixon and since then. So the president's Mila, don't. Okay, listen, Bella, don't die your sister in the game, please. Girl, don't smile because you know you did. don't unalive your sister in the game. And don't scream because she's sitting right beside you.
I didn't kill
Okay.
Boss was in the game then.
Okay. All right. So let me say this, okay?
I can't.
Y'all know how they do. Okay, but what was I saying? Oh, the days of Nixon. So let's just be clear. It has been Nixon, it has been Reagan, and it has been now Trump that have all talked about America first, right? And it was Bush who flat out said America first doesn't work. It doesn't work. It has never worked. It's never going to work, right? It's just not. The other thing to remember is, and we've talked about this a lot in my lives. And if you are new to me and you're not familiar with this, then this will be some information for you, okay? But you know, the strategy of the Republican Party. They were specifically asked. So I know that my followers over on TikTok, I know you all know the answer to this question, but I will let those of you who are new to me and those of you who are on YouTube and Facebook chime in. How many of you are familiar with Lee Atwater? How many of you all, if you are new to me, are familiar with Lee Atwater? Because this is the conversation that we got to have, right? Kingdom Hood, you are. Love that. Babeson, yep. So, yep, Alchemist, love this. All right, so let's just, you backspaced. So Lee Atwater was one of the most prominent, successful Republican consultants and operatives that there was. He worked for the Ronald Reagan administration. He was in the Ronald Reagan White House in the 80s when he was interviewed. And he was specifically interviewed. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. He was interviewed. Hold on one second. So there's a 42-minute recording that was acquired by James Carter IV, right? And it's this recording of Lee Atwater's interview, okay? And so he was asked during this interview, how do Republicans win the votes of racists without sounding racist themselves, right?
I'll protect you from all the monsters.
Yes, Eric, 100%. 100%. So let me tell you, and better than tell you, I'm actually going to play it for you. Because I want you to hear what he says. TikTok folks, make sure you guys love the TikTok shop a lot so that we don't get dinged for this. But I think it's more impactful when, hey, girls, not so loud. It's more impactful when you hear what he said. So here's the backstory. In 1981, after a decade as South Carolina's most effective Republican operative, right? Lee Atwater was working in the White House under Ronald Reagan, okay? He was interviewed by Alexander Lamas, right, who's a political scientist, or was a political scientist, at Case Western Reserve University. Now, Lamas published the interview without using Atwater's name in a book that he wrote in 1984 called The Two-Party South. 15 years later, which was 8 years after Lee Atwater had passed from cancer, he republished that book, right, using Lee Atwater's name. And nobody paid any attention until in 2005, a columnist with the New York Times quoted that book in a column. And then they quoted it 5 more times over the next 4 years, okay? And then there was the scandal where people were like, oh, he didn't really say that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And so the wife of the journalist got the tapes out and said he absolutely said it, and she made it public. And so absolutely, this is it, right? She was upset, right? Because people were doubting her husband and saying that her husband made up this interview, and she was pissed, right? So here is the recording. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make sure I turn this puppy up so everybody can hear it. So remember, hey girls, I really need you. Hey babies, I'm going to play a recording. So try to be very quiet right here during this part. Okay. All right. So these are the words of Lee Atwater. Okay. Yep. Do all the things. Thank you, Dad Jokes, for reminding people. Oh, that's going to give me an ad first. Y'all know how they do. Here we go. Yeah. I don't want y'all to hear any ads. So here we go.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician, like political science, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all don't quote me on this, you start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger, that hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than never, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Now, folks, that is not me saying that. That is literally Lee Atwater out of his own mouth telling you that their goal is to be coded in their language in order to address race, hurt blacks, but have the race thing be on the back burner. Those are his words. That is the strategy and has been the strategy of the Republican Party. So I think that everybody just needs to be very clear that there's nothing that's changed about the game except the way it's played. We don't say forced busing anymore. We say DEI. Right? We don't say we say DEI. They say critical race theory, right? They say woke. That's it. It's the same coding. It's just elevated into new language. It's the same thing. So yesterday, when we were on Twins Live last night, I had a guy ask me, well, why do we always have to? It was a white guy, and he asked me this question. He asked me, did I believe that things were better today in terms of race and racism than they were in the 1960s and 70s? And I said, let me just say this. You think that because, you okay, baby? Did you hurt yourself? Come here. Did you hurt yourself? Hold on, y'all. Bella tripped for a second and hit something. You okay? Yeah? Okay. Mila, go turn the water off. So it's exactly, that's exactly it, James. And so here's the thing. So the question to me was, well, do you really think that do you think that it's better or worse? And I said, here's the thing, it's the same. And he said, it's the same. And I said, yes. I said, you think that because there's no coloreds only and whites only signs that everything is good. You think that because racism is no longer visible and it's now hidden in the systems that everything is better, but the outcome is the same. The outcome is the same. And so he didn't really like that. And so there was this question that was asked, well, how long, why do we keep having to talk about it? And I said, because you refuse to acknowledge it. And as long as white people refuse to acknowledge the existence of racism historically and in present day, the more that we continue to have to talk about it. Hey, mama, because the reality is that we have to talk about it until it is undone. Right? Now, it would be much more powerful if white people talked about it. It would be much more effective if white people were doing the work, if white people were bringing it up. But unfortunately, many times, people like the guy last night, they weren't. Right? And so if you won't, then we will. Period. And if it makes you uncomfortable, great. I want you to be uncomfortable because it is in the place of discomfort where growth happens. That is the place where growth happens. Heidi Ho, what's up? How are you this afternoon?
Go to bed.
I don't know if you meant to request up. Heidi Ho, did you mean to request up? Yeah, Jeremiah, just hit the request button and come on and join the panel. I don't guess you did. Lady J, did you mean to request up to the panel? Yes, Marlene, 100%. Lady J. Lady J, 58. I told y'all sometimes people tap their way into the panel by accident.
I'm here. How are you, Dani?
I am well. How are you?
I am doing good. It's been a long time.
It has.
We first connected on Facebook back in 2018. Yep, that's how long it's been. So I came on to, we were talking about the immigration under
Obama.
And he's still my dude regardless. But I found an article on the ACLU website that kind of points to his how can we say it, his fast track deportations.
Yep, because he used a process. He used a legal process called immediate removal that doesn't require a court hearing. And this is why people say without due process. Here's the problem with that. What he used was an actual legal mechanism that existed, right? Now, is it questionable? Hell yeah. Do I like it? No, I don't. But it's not the same as removing temporary protected status from people like Trump is doing now. It's not the same as standing outside, having ICE outside of people's courtrooms for their court appearances and rounding them up and deporting them into El Salvador and paying another country to keep them. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely agree. But I did want to just bring that up, and thank you for all that you do. I still love you.
I love you too.
All right, sweetie.
All right, thank you, appreciate you. Yeah, so listen, folks, it's funny because people think that that because you support Barack Obama, that means you love everything that he did. That's not the case. I don't love what he did concerning immigration, and I don't love what he did concerning Syria. To be quite frank, those are two of the things that off top I can say, I'm not really a fan of, right? But here's the thing. There is a vast difference between what I would call normal, common political lines, right? I think there are normal things within the political spectrum that we don't like that a president or a politician does during their time, right? Normal things within policy that we might not care for, but that is vastly different than violating the Constitution intentionally, than removing the legal status that people have. So when you are removing the legal status, that is no longer about getting rid of criminals and whatever and any of that. It is not the same. And so that's the thing that people have to understand. We can talk about Obama, and that will be a separate conversation than what is happening under Donald Trump, because they are not the same. No, specifically Syria, Gene. I was talking about when Syria was destabilized and we had the opportunity. Our allies were on board, we were on board, and we were supposed to go in to help stabilize Syria. We did not do that. It was a last minute change of decision that Obama made. And that is why, so one of the things, how many of you all have heard people say, oh, Obama created the Is organization? How many of you all have heard people say Obama created the Is organization? ISIS. How many of you all have ever heard that? Because I have heard people say that. And he didn't obviously create them. But what happened is when we did not go in and stabilize Syria, when we had the opportunity, that particular organization went in and absolutely took control of that region and did grow and did strengthen. And so that is what people are referring to. The thing that I have a hard time with and that I don't really like is when people like conflate the things and to make them sound different than what they are. Now, why do I think people say that? I think people say that because his name is Barack Hussein Obama. And if you can attach Hussein
right.
Obama to the ISIS organization, then it just is inflammatory in nature. And so that's why people want to do it. So that's just my opinion. Hey Jeremiah, you said you had a question?
Yeah, but I gotta say real quick, I just came across you maybe 10 minutes ago. I don't know. I don't think I've heard anybody speak so greatly about so many different issues in a really long time.
Well, thank you.
I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate you.
So I've got. It's probably not an easy answer or a point one.
You got muffled. You got muffled.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There
I'm
you
sorry.
go. You're back.
It's probably not an easy answer like point one, point two, point three, but wholeheartedly, you were talking about, well, if white people would talk about it, then black people wouldn't need to keep bringing up racism. And I agree that it's there, and I agree that it's completely out of hand. It's probably out of hand more now than it was back during the civil riot. There might not be the physical, the outward physical violence and lynchings and things of that nature, but now there's just cop cases that go wrong on a regular basis.
Yep.
Now there's just, you find a little black boy dead somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's just no answer. There's just no reason. And nobody ever looks into it. It just gets brushed over. Just like with the Native American girls, they just disappear up off the reservations.
Yep.
And
If you
there's no
haven't,
investigation.
Jeremiah, on that note, let me say this real quick. Let me just, because you brought up something. So during May 5th, that is MMIW week, right? And so I put up a couple of videos that's on my page, and we also did a live and we talked about it. Of course, TikTok lives don't stay up, but they are on YouTube for folks that miss those, because I provided a lot of stats and resources, and there's a section around MMIW in my link tree as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What is the best? What's the most helpful way as a white guy to bring it up?
Yeah.
How can I best advocate?
Got it. Perfect. Love that question. So the guy's name, Living with the Louds, is Lee Atwater. The link is in my link tree. It was published by The Nation, and it's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and put in The Nation, Lee Atwater, the video will come right up for you. But yeah, so Jeremiah, so one of the most effective things, we talk about something on my live a lot. And I always do a drawing to illustrate it when we talk about it. So let me grab a marker real quick for y'all, because this is my favorite thing in the world. All right. So in our lives, right? In our everyday life, we have a lot of things that are going on all the daggone time. And it's impossible. It becomes almost impossible to say, well, what can I change? Because racism is such a big thing, right? Like you seem really minute. How can I impact this huge thing called racism, right? So the way that you tackle that is real simple. So there's 3 circles that I want to talk about. This first circle is circle number 1, and this is the circle of control. So the first thing is everything that you can control, and that's you. So the first thing that you can do to help is to become very well versed in actually what the issue is, and knowing the differences between overt racism and covert racism and macroaggressions and microaggressions and just all the different things. So in my link tree, I have a list of like documentaries and books and things that you can read. So first, if you've never seen the documentary 13th, like 1-3, like as in the 13th Amendment, go watch that. Go watch that. And then watch it a second time, because there's a lot of information in there to digest, right? And then recommend it to the people that you know will probably watch it, right? So that would be one thing. But starting with those types of things and making sure that you are very well informed yourself so that you can explain things. The other thing is to remember that when you have conversations around race, you have to give people permission to realize what they've done, to discover something about themselves that they're not going to like, and not shame them about it. And I'll give you an example, okay? So I have an uncle who just turned 86. And I had gone to see him like 2 years ago. And when I went there, some East Indians had bought the gas station down the street, right? And he said, "Huh?" He said, "Huh, I go in there to buy my lottery tickets, and I can't understand nothing they say." He said, they just need to learn English." And I said, they're speaking English. They just have a heavy accent. You know, so when we went down there, I went in and I bought the lottery tickets, and I came back out and he said, "Could you understand them?" And I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, but I've also lived a lot of places where I've heard lots of different people, right?" Now, check this out though. We went down to Burger King where his friend came out and talked to us, and his friend is Scottish. You ever listen to a Scottish person talk? Holy hell, right? So when we were talking, I said, can I share something with you? You'll hear me say that a lot. Because when I share something, it's different than let me tell you something. Because even the tell you something sounds harsh, right?
Yeah.
So can I share something with you? And I said, have you ever noticed that the only people that Americans can complain about not speaking English or needing to speak English are melanated people? You never hear them say it about the Irish, the Scottish, the British, the Australian, right?
Right.
They say mother. Nobody says they need to say mother. My mom, my mother. No, that is proper. And that is, you know, and then when I brought that up to him, now remember, he was 84 at the time. He goes, "Well, I'll be." Right? And I said, "Yeah, just notice things."
Just because you took it to him in a way that was...
Yep. That he could understand.
He didn't immediately shut it down and get defensive because of how you asked to be able to, "Hey, can I just share?"
Can I share it with you? And I said, "Did you notice that when we went to Burger King, your friend," and he was like, "Huh." Right? So that is circle number 2.
Okay.
That is your circle of influence. Who are the people in your life when you hear things, when they say things, when you're in certain situations, just being able to make, and so one of my other favorite phrases is, "Can I make an observation?"
Right. Okay.
Because when you give me permission to make an observation, you can't be mad at what I observe.
I just saw it with my eyes.
Right. Yeah. I ask you, could I make an observation? So don't be mad at what I observe. But it's in those places. We always think about the big picture. How can I change racism like out here? But if we all focused on those 2 areas, what I can control, which is me, what do I know? What do I believe? What do I think? How do I speak? Right? And then the second part is, hey, your areas of influence, right? Yeah, I have grandbabies over here. So girls, remember, you lost your phones yesterday for 2 hours. If you hit each other today, you will lose technology for 5 hours.
Oh,
So do not hit each other. Okay. So, yeah, we still got to parent. We still got to make it happen. Yeah, Tutu is not playing. We don't hit each other. But those are the ways. And so on my link tree, so when you go to if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, when you go to my profile, you will see a link tree.
Yep.
It's probably the most extensive link tree on TikTok. There's a ton of information in there, but there's a whole section.
Work, but I'm gonna learn something, huh?
Yes, listen, there's a ton of information. Whether you have questions about immigration, whether you have questions about Medicaid and what will happen to, did you just say Link Forest?
I love it.
my people said, no, that's a link forest.
That's a link forest. I love it.
But it's there. And so one of the things that I did in a Google Drive was make a list of documentaries and books and things like that. There's, oh, hold on. I'll give you just a couple. I'm going to pull out these 4. So this book is fantastic for absolutely anybody. This is Lies My Teacher Told Me.
Oh gosh. Is that like the A People's History? Because I'm just about done with that right now.
So yeah, this guy, James Lowen, he passed like just a few years ago. And he is so incredible. The university that he worked at still has his webpage up. He did a ton of research around sundown towns and the sundown towns that still exist. What happened there, and so you can actually find it. But this book, if you guys want to screenshot it, Lies My Teacher Told Me, it's fantastic. Okay.
Awesome.
So next, this is one of my favorites, and we're doing a book club on it. We're behind in our meeting. So my subscribers and I, people who, so let me just be clear. For those of y'all who do not know, if you are not a paid subscriber, you still have access to everything that's in my Linktree and my non-subscriber side of Discord, right? And I do free workshops where we talk about ways to have different types of conversations. How do we, share information around Medicaid or this or that, right? So all the workshops are free. I don't charge anything, and you don't have to be a paid subscriber to attend those, okay? If you are a paid subscriber, whether that's $3 a month or $25 a month, you have access to a variety of different things, right? Some of those are our documentary viewings together. Some of those are book club readings together. Some of those are movie nights. It's just, somebody just gifted you a subscription. Look at that. I love my people.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So this is the book club that we're doing now. So this book was recommended to me by an individual who is a neonatology, prenatal and neonatal specialist at Vanderbilt University. And they were actually reading this book as healthcare professionals. And it's called Blind Spot, The Hidden Biases of Good People.
Right.
A lot of times when people hear you have prejudice, they think you're saying you're racist, you're a horrible person.
They got a hood in their back seat.
Yes, but it's not that. We all, number one, we all have prejudice, all of us, around a lot of different things that aren't just race. But it's about finding those subconscious biases that we have so that we can identify them. So that's book number 2. Book number 3 that I would recommend is The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It is fantastic. And then this is a heavy book. And, TikTok, I can't say this word. So it's the unaliving of the black body. But this is it's just a good place to start. So it's, again, focusing on you. What do you know? How do you think? How do you talk, right? Are you listening? Are you going? So this is what I tell people all the time. Sit in spaces, get in black spaces and brown spaces, and just be quiet. Just listen. I had a white man last night tell me, I've got employees and I run a very diversified team and they don't ever talk about race. They don't see race. And I said, if your diverse employees are not having racial conversations with you, it is because you are not a safe space to have that conversation.
Right.
That's it, right? Because if you were...
A lot of it just happens in the silence.
Yes.
A lot of the atrocities that we have just happen in silence.
Yes.
And I feel like part of the biggest problem is people that should speak up, don't speak up. And that's why I wanted to specifically ask you how I can best speak up, because I know I put my foot in my mouth probably 100 times trying to say something, and then I offend somebody else because I didn't realize that was offensive when I was like, hey, I'm literally trying to stand up for you.
Yep. And so, and that's the beautiful thing.
But then you found me standing up for you in that way offensive.
Yes.
And I've even been told, well, you just shouldn't talk on this. You're not black.
Yeah. So no. So it's there. Here's the difference. It's about not speaking for us, as in like our experiences, but speaking about the actions of white people and the words of white people and the systems and how they impact us. So that's the difference between those two things, right?
Right.
Is not saying, well, this is how it impacts them. We don't need you to tell people how it impacts us. We need you to tell people.
I don't know how it impacts you.
Absolutely. And so telling people, Michelle Alexander, Mr. Barrios, that's who is the author of The New Jim Crow. And the thing is, it's about speaking to white folks. It's about something as simple as being at the dinner table and the drunk uncle tells a joke that's inappropriate or uses a word that we know shouldn't be used anymore. And it's just about in that environment saying, hey, that's not cool. Right? Because they're going to think about that later, right? Somebody over in Facebook said, I love this guy. He wants to learn. This is the thing that, so when people say to me, what does being on social media do? Well, it depends on what you're doing on social media, right? And so what we do in my space is this type of work, and I love it. We have had, we have had people like do complete 180s in their positions. And we have a badass community. We really do. I think we have almost 700 people in the Discord. 500 and some of them are subscribers. And there's just a lot of help and relationship building and support for each other and all of those types of things. It just is. And so we love it. We even have a section in my Discord that it's called, it just says 8 minutes, right? Yes, ma'am.
Can you have some cookies?
Yeah, you can get them. Or if you can't reach them, ask Dominic to get them. Yes, ma'am, you can. But it's called 8 minutes. And so here's what because oftentimes when we're going through something really hard and we need support and we reach out to our friends, it's like a regular text. It just says, hey, what are you doing? Hey, are you busy? And your friend reads that and they don't know there's anything really wrong, right? So what we've developed is if I text you and I say, you got 8 minutes, that means I need support, because what we know is that 8 minutes just with someone, whether you're being heard, whether you are, whether they are helping you, whether you are crying, whatever it is, just 8 minutes is all it takes for emotionally and psychologically to realize you're not alone in a thing. And so we literally
awesome.
even have that in our Discord.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but those are some of the ways.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Appreciate you. Thanks, Jeremiah. All right, let me see. Who have I got? I got Quill up here, and I'm going to bring up a couple of other people. Put yourself on mute until I get to you. What's up, Quill, too? How are you?
Hi. First of all, I want to say I really love the balance between, like, not accepting the BS from the other side. Like, there's no point, there's nothing useful in debating reality. And that's kind of what you get to on some of the other lives where everyone's just arguing the whole time. It's like, it's a debate. No, we don't debate reality. We don't debate facts.
Yes.
Okay. If you want to have a discussion, let's have a discussion.
Yep.
So,
100%.
But there's still a little bit of like bringing in the other side's points without actually debating reality.
Yes.
Waste of time. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And the other thing I wanted to bring up real close, it just didn't fit in the comments, is y'all remember the bear versus man debate,
Yes.
right? And the part that always haunted me the most was the way women would say, if a bear attacked me, I would be believed. Nobody
100%.
would sit there and say, what were you wearing? What did you do to encourage the bear? Okay. And it wasn't just me that felt that way. I mean, like all the women kind of like, oh, ouch, that hurt. They all felt it, right?
Yep.
And I feel like being white, maybe that's kind of why sometimes I hear women of color, people of color saying they prefer the out and out racists versus the people who hide behind DEI today.
100%.
Because it's just, you can believe it.
Yeah.
If someone calls you the N-word to your face, you can say, oh, look, see, racism.
Yeah.
But when someone says, oh, it's DEI, you say, hey, racism, and they don't believe it.
Because they don't even understand. It's just like when people said, so I had family members that got really pissed at me. I'm biracial, for those of you all who do not know. And I had family members that got pissed at me because I said, you do realize that all lives matters is racist, because that's what they were saying, right? My family is from Iowa and Missouri. And I said, the reason why it is because all lives matter would not exist if we never said Black Lives Matter. So the fact that you are saying it in response to the cry for equality of Black Lives Mattering is what makes it a racist response, right?
Yep.
And so, but it's people not understanding. And so this is the difference between understanding overt racism and covert racism. Overt racism is not politically acceptable. It's not socially acceptable. So listen, I'm not saying that the civil rights movement didn't do anything other than that, but this is oftentimes the best way that I can say it. The civil rights movements changed laws, but not hearts and minds of many people. So,
Ouch.
yeah. So here's the thing. You changed a law that made the South integrate, but they didn't want to. And there were no tools, there were no services, there were no conversations to educate either side on how to be together. My generation, I'm over 50, my generation was the first biracial generation legally, that, you know what I mean? Like, because my parents were married 3 years before the Loving case, right? So when you think about that, they were not equipped to have us all in the same space because there was too much that people did not know about each other. And there was no one there to bridge the gap, and there was no one there to teach anything. And so people have had to learn as we go. And some people they held resentment that prevented that learning, because when we are forced to do something, we resent it so much more than when we choose it. And that's part of the problem.
Yep. You're almost like tapping right into people that listen to the entire argument that Biden made against busing. It was that people weren't ready. It was not, oh, we don't need busing. But they just use that as a,
Do you know what I say to people about this? And I said it back in 2020. I have a big old long post that was shared a bajillion times on Facebook about Biden. And I said, this is my thing about Joe Biden. I am never, ever, ever surprised when someone can point to the life of an 80-plus-year-old man and find that he said something racist or racially inappropriate. Why? Because that is the era in which they lived. That is not surprising to me. It's more surprising to not find it. What matters is, what is that person saying today? And the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is that Joe Biden took accountability for the things that he said. He has apologized for the things that he got wrong, and he has been about the business of learning how to correct it. And that's very different from someone who doubles down on it and spouts racist dog whistles 2 or 3 times a damn day. And that's what Trump does. And that's the difference between those two things.
but people use a acknowledgement that race is a complex issue that we need to solve versus just like pointing at it as a whataboutism.
Yeah. No, it's
as a weapon.
Yeah, so here's the thing about racism. The reason why it's so difficult for us to even get a grip on it and to be able to like to really do the work on it is because it comes with a ton of shame that we didn't place on anybody. So let me just be clear. Black people are not sitting around saying you suck just because you're white, or you're racist just because you're white, or you should feel ashamed because you're white. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. Let me tell you something. When people will say, hi, yellow women so snooty. I don't get offended. You want to know why? Because my ass ain't snooty, right? People can say things like, they can talk about, black on black crime or anything else. Listen, if it does not pertain to you, then don't be offended by it. Mila Ann, girls, Bella, why do you have her phone, babe? I am going to take them if you don't stop. Give her phone back.
Okay, thank you again. You have plenty of others.
I got
I
you.
will
Appreciate you,
definitely be
Quill.
back.
Stacey D, can you give me a quick commercial break, please?
You got it.
Thank you. 1 minute.
Welcome, Danikins. Welcome, chat. Welcome, newcomers, and welcome, trolls. Stick around, you might learn something. So, this is the Dani Cook Show. We just want to encourage everyone to like and share the live. Tap that daily heart button at the top near her name. That lets all those things let the algorithm know that we are interested in having engaging conversation over here on her show. Please keep in mind three things. Please be respectful. Act like you got some home training. Please do not use slurs. Please do not spam the comments, and please do not write in all caps, as that is reserved for mod adjacent folks like me, and people like Received Grace. There are a few people in here who have some vision challenges, and so that is allowed. They get a pass for that. All the rest of y'all act like you know, okay? Please keep sharing the live. Of course, keep liking the live. We'd love to get Dani. I don't know how long she's planning on being up here, but she's at 158 and climbing. It'd be awesome if we could get her up to like 250, maybe even 3. So tap, tap, tap. Tapping is free and tapping is clapping. Sharing is caring. So even if you don't share the live actually to people, if you click the arrow down to your bottom right-hand portion of the screen, if you click the arrow and then go click on the link, that counts as well. So I do that a lot because I don't have a whole lot of people that I'm sharing to, but I want her to get credit for it, and so that ensures that she does get credit for it.
Appreciate you. Yay. Whew. Y'all know, so for those of you all who are new to me, appreciate you, Stacey D, very, very much. So, you know, I balance life, right? So my daughter works 2 jobs. I take care of my grandbabies. And you know, sometimes that just requires stopping what we're doing on here and handling business. And here's the thing. If you wait for something so I love me some Brene Brown. If you don't know who that is, I really encourage you to get familiar. She has a saying, and she says, perfection is the enemy of done. If I waited for the perfect time to go live or to record a podcast or to write an article or to write email templates and do research, it would never happen. There is no such thing as a perfect time, so we got to make the time when we can make it, and that would be right now. So thank you, Stacey D. Appreciate you guys for being patient with me and understanding. While I got you, because I don't remember who I brought up in what order. So Stacey D, you want to go ahead and go, and then I'll do Hazel NYC.
Sure. So I just wanted to come up and say hi, and specifically to Jeremiah. I hope he's still here with us.
Jeremiah.
You know, we have been here. Is that his name? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, if we've all been in Dani's space, if you've been here long enough, you've seen her dismantle and cook folks. My favorite one is the woman who said, I came up here to cook and you took all my ingredients.
The accent. Yeah.
It was fantastic. But I just want to give some flowers to the folks that are not maybe directly impacted by racism, but understand that it's still their fight as well, and that it impacts their lives. And as while we get excited to watch Dani cook, I find it so encouraging. I feel so encouraged, and it really makes my heart feel light when I see someone who is asking the right questions and who wants to learn and who truly is interested in being an advocate, that it's not, you can tell that it's not performative. They want to know the right questions to ask. Yes. They don't want to just grab a few factoids and then run off with it so they can, act like they just dropped some knowledge. It's like, you didn't drop a thing over here, sir. So especially those who, talking about hidden biases, those who could easily aesthetically be mistaken for the other side, right?
Yeah, so for those of you all on Facebook and YouTube who could not see Jeremiah, his profile picture looked like anybody that I could have seen in Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, Iowa, Missouri, whatever, like a red beard, like Red Hot said, MAGA.
tattoos.
Yeah, tattoos, the whole nine. Like you could easily look at him and prejudge. Right, good old boy. You could look at him and prejudge what whether he was friend or foe, and that's what Stacy's referring to is, and that. So literally, I love it when anyone asks the right questions and asks, "How can I be a best ally for you?" I do love it even a little bit more when they look like they quote unquote should be the damn enemy. Because it is a lesson that things aren't always what they look like, right? And a lot of times they haven't. And so I love that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's so great in the fact that it exposes our bias, and it allows, when we expose our own bias, it allows us to give grace for others in theirs.
Yep.
And I'm also excited because he's got an opportunity I don't have, you don't have, a lot of us don't have. He moves and operates in spaces that we don't have access to.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
And I tell this to YT folks all the time. It's like a superpower, and you say it as well, Dani. It's like it is incumbent upon us to talk to our own folks about stuff.
Yes.
Because not just that it's our job, but because it lands differently. They receive it differently.
Yes.
I just was speaking to a Danikin the other day, and I said if I could offer anything, I would say it's really, you don't have to get into a deep intellectual conversation and bring out all your books and have all your one-liners and your references and direct them to Dani's link forest. You don't have to do all that. I mean, you can end up there. I mean, it's a good place to end up.
Yeah.
But you can start the conversation as easily as when they say something a little off, just say, I used to feel that way too.
Yeah.
I get it. I get how you could feel like that, or how you could see it that way, because I used to as well.
Yep.
And then because now you're relatable.
Yep.
You're not judging them. You're not talking down on them. You're not dog walking them. You are bringing them into the fold. You are sharing with them. Sharing is caring, right? You are making them feel cared for because you took the time to say it nice. You're not judging them. You're not embarrassing them. You're not calling them out. You're not calling them on the carpet. You're just sharing an observation, and you're doing it in a way that's going to leave an impression on them about who you are. We'll put them on alert about what they can and cannot say around you.
Yep.
And hopefully they will then be able to apply that technique without even realize they're doing it. They could subconsciously be like, and the next time they hear somebody say something a little off, they can apply that, because that's how we're going to get through. Yes, there are some people that need to be knocked over the head and shown the facts and all of that. There are different people and different techniques for all of those different factions of our society, right?
Yep.
But I find that to be the most benign, innocuous way to just have a chat.
Yeah.
We'll just have a chat.
Just open that door.
I want to say thank you so much, Jeremiah. Thank you to all the other YT folks that have come up with a teachable spirit or teachable soul. I saw someone say that in the comments, because it is appreciated more than you know.
Yep. And that is 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. Love it. Yeah. 100%. Appreciate you, sis.
Yeah. You're welcome. You can drop me down. I'll be in the chat.
Love you, mean it. All right. So,
Love you, mean it.
So on that note, right, one of the ways that you can very quickly discern what type of individual you have in front of you is when you are listening for connection. I tell people this all the time. It's not about listening to react, respond, or any of that. If you are listening to their responses for connection, that is the best way to be able to crack open the door for a conversation, right? It's something to be able to relate to connect with, and to be able to kind of open that door for additional conversations. And that's when it gets really, really good. So I'm going to do Hazel NYC and then Kingdom Hood next. What's up, Hazel? What you got for me?
Hi, Dani. Hi to the listeners. So piggyback on what Stacey said, how so certain white people, obviously YT people, walk in this world. And I had a situation where one of my bosses at the time, who was a YT female, said, I don't believe in, YT privilege. And, I couldn't talk about it at the time, But then a few months later, she's no longer my boss now, so thank God. But a few months later, I came across a scenario that actually played out in my life. I went to a beauty parlor, a beauty salon, hairdresser, and I was a walk-in. Now there were three. Now it was an Asian beauty salon. Okay, very famous on TikTok. Everyone wants to go there, and so I decided to walk in. And there were three additional Asian young girls there waiting before me, and a white tea female. So that was four, and then it was me. So after I sat down, any person that came in, which just coincidentally happened to be one Muslim, one Indian, and two Hispanics after me, they were told, no more, that's it. We're no longer taking walk-ins. That's it. And I was just like, okay, just looking, observing. Then all of a sudden, a beautiful white tea young girl comes in, and they take her name down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, wait a minute. What is that about? You just told a Muslim, you told a Latina, and you told an Indian that you were not taking any more. All of a sudden, the pretty blonde, curly girl comes in, and you tell her to sit down.
Right.
So I'm looking at this sideways. Then what happened next was the clincher for me. You have three females, actually four females in front of me. When they walked up to tell the next person to go back and get their hair washed, they told the white tea young girl that just walked in. Now, mind you, I had been waiting there 45 minutes. So the people before me had to be waiting probably an hour.
Right.
And this girl just walks in, sits down for 5 minutes, and gets called in. So I stood up. I was like, oh, hell no, this is not going to happen on my time. And I said something, and they were like, no, you're next. So at that moment, I wanted to approach the young girl and tell her what happened so that she can see where her white tea privilege happened.
Right.
Without her even knowing. Right? Without her even knowing. And so I said, no, right now is not the right time. You will be able to share this one day at the proper time, which is, I'm sharing it for the first time here. So there are times when white tea people are not meant to know the privilege because they're walking in the privilege and they don't see it. That they're not meant to see it.
So this is what I say about this. So y'all know I love me some Ta-Nehisi Coates. And he was talking about this, and he said, listen, it is not like you are born white and somebody teaches you that you have privilege along with your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. That's not what happens. It's just that the world shows you your privilege. People automatically take you first. They automatically move out of your way. They automatically let you go first. They automatically do those things. It's not a case of you are aware of the privilege. It's that the privilege just happens for you. And so when he said that, I was like, that's exactly it. And that is why there's this resistance to being told they have privilege, especially if they live in poverty. Right? You'll hear people, I'm poor, I don't have privilege. And they are inserting classism with racism, and those are not the same things. There's intersectionality between those things. But yeah, they are not the same. So yeah, they don't realize they have it much of the time. Yeah, baby.
Right. Yes. The other thing I want to say is that so much has happened since election, right? So election was last November. It's been 7 months. And it really sent the world into like a tailspin, right? Yeah. People who voted for Kamala versus people who voted for Trump versus people who are now seeing things in Trump that they don't like versus people who are now waking up and saying, this is not what I voted for, this is not what I want. So many different things are happening. People who are, in therapy because they're having a really hard time adjusting and dealing with what they're going to do for the next 4 years. So what I would like to tell people is that there's plenty of time for a reset. And you don't have to wait for election day to be a reset. You don't have to wait for January 1st when you're making, your commitments, your yearly commitments. There's a time for reset every single day. And if you aren't happy, you voted for Trump, you're not happy with what is happening now, and you don't know where your place is, this is a perfect place to start. Being here with Dani and the people and the listeners, because you are going to have to figure out when you want to reset. And a reset doesn't have to mean that you're going to wait for the next 4 years until the next election to kind of reset and make amends for the decision that you decided to in the first place. It could be today. Every day is a reset. You don't have to wait until the beginning of the year or the next election. If you are making a decision that you made the wrong choice, talk about it. Just be honest with yourself. Have these discussions like the gentleman that was here a little earlier.
Yeah.
Do you expect people to look at you sideways or with a side eye? Yes. I think you should expect it because of the way this administration is hurting a lot of people. So you can't walk in this world and say, well, why is this person looking at me side eye? Or why did this person have some type of feelings? It's because it's affecting them. So have that expectation, but at the same time, allow yourself to reset. And, it's okay to sit in these lives and have a conversation with Dani. It's okay to have a conversation with someone who is of the opposite gender or who is of the opposite, lifestyle or whatever. And be honest with yourself. I think that we can get to a place where we want to be in the next few months or a year if you admit to yourself, it's time for me to reset.
Yeah. So, and let me just say this, because this is one of the things that one of my LGBTQIA folks taught me. This is many, many years ago. I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago, when we were still using the language, about their lifestyle, right? Lifestyles being different. And my gay friend talked to me afterwards, Jamie. And she said to me, hey, Dani, she said, I know that you mean well, right? She said, but so Amy, you heard it. I heard it too. And she said, this is not a lifestyle for me. A lifestyle is if you are a gym rat. A lifestyle is if you go camping. A lifestyle is if you are into dance, right? A lifestyle is if you travel a lot, and right, those are lifestyles. Those are choices that you make. She said, this is my life. This is a life. This is who I am. This is just it, right? And so immediately I got it. And ever since then, I don't say lifestyle. And I wanted to be sure, because this is exactly what I just shared with Jeremiah, right? This is within my circle of influence. And so if I hear it, I get to address that on the spot. Now, I know Hazel didn't mean anything by it. She wasn't trying to be any sort of way. She was actually attempting to be inclusive, right? But in this moment, I get to take advantage of this opportunity and say, hey, it's not a lifestyle, it's a life, right? And if we are going to be inclusive, if we're going to be allies, then I have to be teachable to how they shared with me. It's best for me to be teachable, right? For me to be an ally and share that with everybody else. So I just want to offer that to you all. When you start to think about it, think about, that verbiage and the way, you do or don't want to express it. Okay.
And you're right. And I really appreciate that, because I'm a former lifelong Republican and former evangelical. So when I'm speaking to other Republicans, I use the terminology that I know they understand.
Yep.
And that's the way they see it. They don't see it as a, right? They see it
that's
as
why it's even more important to not say it that way.
Right.
That's why it's even more important. I know that they see it as a lifestyle, but that's the part that they have to be challenged on. That's the part where they have to be challenged on. And so, and so that's the opportunity that we get to use. Now, I do use I do use Christian terminology and examples when I'm talking to evangelicals because that's how I was born and raised. It gives me an opportunity to have connection and to demonstrate within the things that they understand what it is that I'm talking about. Yeah. But
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, I so appreciate you. I so appreciate the listeners here
Yep.
because I think that out of many different platforms that are on TikTok, that are everyone has a place, right? Everyone approaches things differently.
Yep.
You obviously have your own, and you're walking in the way that you walk. And there are certain people that are just going to gravitate to you. And the fact that we can all come together and just listen and learn and glean from each other. And the books that you have are fantastic. I actually have one of the books, and I'm going to try to join your book club. But, just keep it going. I love the fact that you're a grandma and that you're still allowing yourself to do what you have to do without waiting for that time.
Yep.
Because we do that to ourselves. So I just wanted to, just share that and just thank you for.
Yeah, appreciate you too. Appreciate you for being in the space and for sharing. Okay,
care.
so yeah, you too. All right, so I want to take a minute just to level set folks. So if there are folks that want to participate in this conversation, I am using multiple platforms today. Not sure how to bring up folks that are Facebook and YouTubing. I'm testing the like the efficiency and the effectiveness of doing it this way versus using a streaming service. But if you want to join the panel and join the conversation, just come over to TikTok and just look for The Dani Cook. On TikTok, it's the same everywhere, and you will be able to join the conversation and join the panel. Also, so things that I put up a couple of prompts. Obviously, we don't have to just stick to those. As you hear, we go with where the conversation takes us. But one of the things that we've talked about is, Musk is out. Did he actually accomplish anything for the country? Let me say it that way, because he accomplished things, but they were for him. The second one is, if Trump won this tariff war with China, which is what a lot of people believe, then why is he complaining that China isn't complying? Why is he saying that China has violated the agreement? Why isn't, if Trump is so powerful and he has China in check, why aren't they doing exactly what he told them to do, right? And then number 3 is, are Trump's immigration tactics unconstitutional? Are they morally wrong, or both? I believe they are both. So those are just some of the things that we're talking about in addition to what other people are bringing up. So what's up, Kingdom Hood? How are you? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. There you go.
I am good. How are you?
I am fantastic. What you got for me this afternoon?
First of all, I just want to come up and say, Queen, I want to thank you for being our intellectual Navy SEAL. I want to thank you for all the work that you do. It takes a lot of time for research and creating all this information for people, because people tend to be lazy. They don't want to do the work that you do. So I just want to tell you thank you.
I appreciate
and I praise you for that.
Appreciate you.
You were talking earlier something very interesting. And I'm always I'm a progressive, right, out of California.
Okay.
I'm always on a lot of Black Republican lives. And the question always becomes, why do Black people vote Democrat? And we're on this so-called Democratic plantation, right? And I always tell them, well, you're in the Black Republican clown car. Can you imagine Negroes getting out of the car with noses and big feet out of a Volkswagen, getting out? But I always ask them, I said, so listen, I said, we were once Republican, right? We were once Republican for the most part. Why are we now Democrat? That's the question. Why are we not voting Republican anymore? None of them know.
Well, so the party switched. The party is switched. Yeah.
Correct. But here's the thing. I asked them to walk me through it. I said, I'm a progressive. So if I know more about your party, the Republican Party, and how they got rid of all the radical Black Republicans, you don't, it means you don't. So I tell them, I say, listen, we first saw what the Republicans were doing in 1876, right? When you had the white House Republicans kick the Black House Republicans out of the House of Representatives. Then we got 1877, Great Compromise of Rutherford B. Hayes. You removed federal troops out the South, which of course allowed Benjamin Tillman and Nathan Bedford Forrest. And then there's a riot in 1888 between Gooseneck Bill, G.T. Ruby, Matthew Gaines in Texas. The black House Republican with 95% black fought the white Republicans. And now we got the Lily White Party. So I always ask black Republicans, you talk about the Dixiecrats, but tell me about the Lily Whites. Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, they don't know. Yeah.
Don't know a damn thing. I said, tell me about the 1904-1908 convention when the white Republicans kicked the black Republicans out of the convention and replaced them with contraceptive Negroes, right? The ones that are safe, right? Because you had radical black Republicans like G.T. Ruby, Matthew Gaines, you had George Washington Lee, Archibald Carey, Robert Church Jr., Jackie Robinson. You know, these are some of my black heroes, right? Yeah. That were fighting the Lily Whites in the Republican Party and fighting the Dixiecrats. So you had a battle, a 70-year battle between the Lily Whites and the Black and Tans right in the Republican Party. So you want to talk about Dixiecrats?
Right.
Well, listen, hey, this is the thing. Listen, Herbert Hoover got 75% of the black vote. Why? Because he had Ida B. Wells Barnett campaigning for him.
Yes.
What did he do? He partnered with Strom Thurmond and Jesse Helms to start the Lily Whites. He branded the Lily Whites. They started in 18, but he gave them the name. Well, George Washington Lee actually gave them the name. And then they turned their back on us. I asked all black Republicans on a federal level between 1870 at the 15th Amendment and arguably Donald Trump, where were you? What'd you do? Now, on the state level, right, you have people like, Jesse Helms, right, out of Louisville, Kentucky. Right, he partnered with some whites in the Appalachians. You had Bruce Hobson, who was mayor over Louisville, Kentucky. Right, he's a Dixiecrat. Didn't want anything to do with integration.
Right,
Jesse Waters, my man, the black Republican, creates this move, gets him out, turns over the city council. 63, right? Bruce Hobson. Ned Bressett, the governor of Kentucky, right? Comes. I don't want nothing to do with these black Republicans. Hey man, you want us to pass civil rights? Let's cool. And Kentucky becomes the first state in the South to pass civil rights. Now, that is because the black Republican. When you talk about in the House or Senate, the Republicans went dark. Because after the 1870 ruling, they knew that they cannot compete with that Southern vote helping black votes. So when I start talking to them about this, I won't monologue, but there's a lot that goes into this thing, right? Because listen, if you got 1944, the Ralph Bunche report, right? 1944. They hired this brilliant black Republican, right? He was conservative, Republican. So he was graduated from UCLA, went to Harvard, top of his class, brilliant political scientist. Wrote them a report on why you're losing the black vote. And you know what? They were scared to use it. So I don't even know why they hired him. Why did you hire the dude? Right. So in the 1930s, we were pretty much politically homeless. We got Herbert Hoover, who got 75% of our vote, turned his back on us. We saw Hoovervilles proliferate across America. FDR comes in, he gets 75% of the black vote. But we still were fighting because in 1944, Governor Dewey out of Texas, a Republican, got 44% of the black vote. So we fought. You had my hero, George Washington Lee, right, was fighting. You had Robert Church Jr. You had T.R.M. Howard, right? T.R.M. Howard got famous. For those who don't know, T.R.M. Howard got famous from the Emmett Till unaliving. So he goes around the country, right, saying it's the Democrats' fault. He was right. He gets ran out of Mississippi. He goes to Chicago, partners with Archibald Carey, and they start snake out of their church. That's how he got famous. Now, he is not somebody that black people want to highlight because T.R.M. Howard was a doctor, and he was gangster and giving white and black women ABs. Oof. So that's not somebody black people want to highlight. And I'll land my plane by saying this. Here is the culmination of what we're seeing today. 1964, Dan Rather interviews King. You know about this. You're a brilliant woman. You know about this. So I'm talking to people who don't know. And I want everybody who's listening, go look up the interview between Dan Rather so you can verify I'm a liar. Don't believe me. Go look it up for yourself. He interviews Dan Rather. Dan Rather interviews King. Dan Rather says, do you believe the Republicans become the white man's party based on Nixon, Reagan, and Barry Goldwater, who are the father of modern conservatism? What does King say? This is what he says. He says, it's come to my attention that the Republicans are kicking the liberals out of the party. It's going to be bad for Republicans and bad for America. Dan Rather asked King, do you become the white man's party? And that's what we got. Now, I'll land by saying this. Barry Goldwater, right? Barry Goldwater runs the racist Republican out of Arizona, right? He creates Operation Dixie. He famously says, "Let's go duck hunting," which means he wanted the Southern vote because Mills Godwin, Strom Thurmond, Jesse Helms, Ronald Reagan were mad about the civil rights movement. That's where you see your switch. Jesse Helms became a Republican. Strom Thurmond became a Republican. In fact, Strom Thurmond supported Nixon in '68, and Nixon won the South. There you go, a Republican.
So listen to, so I don't know if you know this or not.
I don't mean to lie. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Don't apologize. People are loving it in the comments. So let me just share this with you all. So I don't know if you know this or not, but just 2 years ago, Dan Rather posted about this on his Substack. That's why I was like, let me pull it up.
Yep.
So I'm going to share it with you guys what he's referencing. Okay. So so this is on Substack from Dan Rather, and it says my question for Dr. King, and then the subtitle is 1964 and Today. It's written by Dan Rather and Elliot Kirshner. And he says, the phone rang today from friends and family watching this week's edition of the CBS News program, Face the Nation. Apparently, I had made an appearance on my former network in the form of archival footage, a flashback to an episode of that same program from nearly 60 years ago. Wow, how time flies. The guest on that Sunday's Face the Nation in 1964 was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was in Washington at the time to lobby for passage of the Civil Rights Act. I remember the moment, but I didn't recall what I had asked Dr. King until I recently rewatched the clip. As I reflect today on my question and his answer, I can't help but ponder the passage of these many years and the winding and far from finished journey we as a nation and a people have taken on civil rights. The clip was featured in a segment shared below, which I'm going to share with you guys, about growing diversity among members of Congress. In 2023, most people of color and women in Congress are Democrats. Making note of this political divide echoed the exchange I had with Dr. King way back in 1964. At the time, I was curious what he thought of the direction the Republican Party, the so-called Party of Lincoln, had taken on race relations. Mila, stop. And this is what he said, quote, "Do you think there's a real danger of the Republican Party becoming the white man's party in this country?" I asked.
Correct.
This is what Martin Luther King Jr. said. Yes, baby. Mila, if you kick Bella, I'm taking your phone and you're going in timeout. Okay, well, don't do it. This is what he said. This is Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, y'all. He said, quote, "I think this is a real danger," he answered in his measured voice. "I've talked with some Negro Republicans who are very concerned about this. I see trends and developments which will reveal that unless the liberals of the Republican Party take a much more decisive role in leadership positions, this will become a white man's party. And I think this will be tragic for that Republican Party as well as tragic for the nation." And then he puts the clip in here, that Face the Nation clip. I won't play it on here, but here's what I'm doing. I'm doing it right now as we speak. I'm putting this link in my link forest, as y'all like to call it. It's a link tree, people. It's a link tree. It just has a lot. They done renamed Kingdom Hood. They have renamed my link tree to a link forest because they said there's so much in it. And they're asking what the bottom of your shirt says. It says everybody versus racism. That's what his shirt says. They're asking what his shirt says. Okay, but I've added that Substack to the, I've added that link to the Substack for everybody to read. But no, so here's what I would love to ask you to do. Let me just do this. Dan Rather, MLK. Is so, let's do this. Send me a DM on TikTok. Okay. Let's set up a live where all we're doing is the Black history of the Republican Party, because you have a wealth of information. And somebody commented, they said, he's got so much to tell, he can't get it out fast enough. But I think that it benefits people because so many people do not know that the parties switched their alliances. They switched what they were, people will talk about the Republican Party did this. Yeah, but the Republican Party had different values back then. They had different priorities. And I think part of the problem that we have today is that we still have too many Dixiecrats in the Democrats, right? And we have too many Christian nationalists that are in both sides of the party, right? Which is why they are allowing to do so much to happen, under this administration, and Congress isn't taking its power back. So that's a whole nother conversation. But let me know what your
Okay, I will.
what your schedule is.
No problem.
And we will.
Hey, listen, anything I'm doing a roll with Daddy, look, you just tell me when, I'll be there. You ain't gotta ask me. You so at a high level. I'm just honored to be in your presence.
Oh,
you know what I'm
hush.
saying?
You're doing the most now. You're doing the most now. No, but I think I would love to do a live on here and then a podcast. And so my podcast is in its infancy. I just started 4.5 months ago. We hit 11,000 downloads this month. So I'm really excited about that. But I think, like I said, for me, it's not about arguing about, well, Trump did this and Trump did that. It's about, do you understand where we are, how we got here, and what does it require of us to get where we need to go? And what is it? Look, I go back to my Southern roots sometimes when I say my people perish for a lack of knowledge. But yeah, no, I appreciate you tremendously. Love it.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
And I'll send that to you, and let's get together. I appreciate you.
We will make it happen. Appreciate you.
And again, thank you so much for what you do. I really appreciate you.
Right back
Thank
at you. Appreciate you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. All right. So you never know what is going to happen, what type of information gets shared on this platform. It is one of the reasons people will say, why do you like TikTok? Why do you like whatever? I don't know what the issue is with the other social media platforms. He was amazing. Agreed, right? I don't know what the issue is with other platforms and what they do and don't do and what gets it. But here's what I know is that there is a different type of interaction that takes place when we're on TikTok. There are people that of so many different areas of interest and specialties and thought processes. And it's a great place where people are wanting to collaborate, wanting to have these conversations, wanting to do the work. Thank you, Chantel. And do what we've got to do to kind of get us and move us forward. Appreciate you, Byra. And so it is the interaction, right? It is spontaneous, it is organic, and I love it. Because I believe, so let me say this, y'all, I really do believe that this is how we move things forward. I believe that this is how we build connection. This is how we reestablish, or maybe for the first time in a long time, establish the America that we truly desire to live in. I think that for a while now, the country has been on autopilot in terms of democracy and policy and actually being intentional about what we're creating and where we're going, right? I think that, I say this all the time, democracy isn't something that, you can pop in the microwave and it's just going to happen quickly, nor is it something that you just put in the crock pot and leave and it's going to turn out beautiful. It's just not that thing. And I really believe that we, and when I say we, I'm talking about the American people as a whole, became complacent. We just sat back and thought, well, our elected officials, and we just assumed that there were going to be lines that people would not cross. I believe we just thought these are the political boundaries. Everybody's agreed to play by the rules. Yes, we know that there are potential hazards, but surely to goodness, nobody that we elect is ever going to be in that and is ever going to do those things, right? But that's turned out to not be true. And so getting back involved, getting rid of the apathy that is out there. And let me just say this to you all. I believe that the apathy isn't just voter apathy. We don't just have voter apathy. We have media apathy. We have issue apathy. We have social media apathy. We are just like, oh, because it is so much all the time. Gotcha, Stacy. It is so much all the time. Right. People have intellectual apathy. And I want to say this too, because Mila, that's it. You get your feet off of Bella and get on your side of the couch right now. One moment. Yeah, don't do it again.
Okay.
She saw me get ready to get up and decided she would move. But anyway, so yeah. Yeah, Mila Ann. Yes, Terry Bora. But the thing is this, right? Because we are being bombarded all the time. You are correct, Linda Sims. That's exactly what happened. I moved and her feet moved. Her whole body moved to the other side of the couch. But, you know, here's my thing. We have to get to the place where we are not apathetic when it comes to humanity. And somehow we have gotten there. Guys, if we can go through an entire global pandemic together and people not have empathy for each other and their loss, if we have people that are literally telling the parents of children that were unalived in mass pew-pews at their schools that they are just paid actors and their children didn't really unalive, where have we gotten? Where are we as a society when we are willing to criticize, mock, belittle, badger people in the worst of their times? What does that say about us as human beings, right? It just baffles me that we have gotten to this place. It is not just, you know, people talk about, oh, well, we have significant voter apathy. We have apathy just about on every level when it comes to things that are significant. And let me just, this is my opinion, right? I think when we develop empathy and compassion again, right, voter apathy has to go away. You hear me? When you are empathetic, thank you, Brandy. When you are empathetic, when you have compassion for people, when you are interested in humanity and you value human life, you can't have voter apathy because you understand that politics is just policy that impacts people. And if you truly care about people, you have to vote. You have to be involved. You have to know what's going on. You have to be engaged. And you make the time, even if it's not convenient. You make the time, even if it is tiring. You make the time no matter how you have to, right? And this is the part that I really think this is where our biggest work is. Our biggest work is in developing empathy and compassion again. And the reason why I believe that is the most challenging thing that we have is because it requires vulnerability. It requires vulnerability, and nobody wants to be vulnerable anymore. Nobody, not nobody, let me not say that because there are plenty who do, but there are too many people that have, that are bought into the idea that vulnerability is weakness, that strength requires hatefulness, strength requires pew-pews, strength requires fighting, strength requires, right? There are people that believe that, but we know strength when we see it. Don't we? When we see the child that's at St. Jude's, that's going through chemo, that's ringing the bell, we know strength when we see that. When we see the first responders pulling babies out of the rubble, we recognize strength. When we see people weeping, we recognize strength and vulnerability when we see it. It just has to translate into ourselves. There's too much pride in, look, I can fall back. I can fall back. Right? No new friends. What in the world? Yes to new friends. Yes to pushing forward. Yes to leaning in. No to falling back. Right? That is how we develop the empathy and compassion that is necessary. Because let me just tell, and I believe this, folks, you have to know, I don't don't care if you supported the mass deportations. I don't care if you said that's what you supported, because most of you said you supported it because it was going to be getting rid of the people that were here illegally. And you are watching this administration remove the legal status of people in order to get rid of them. 500,000 people. Just take away their legal status. And I don't know if you all understand this. If we start setting a precedent where we can take away people's legal rights, their statuses, we get to the place where it can happen to us. You get to the place where people don't have to have due process. That will include citizens. This is not a case of the Trump administration getting rid of the people who got here illegally or the wrong way. That is not what this is a case of. And you cannot lie to yourself and tell you that it is. It is a case of taking people who got here legally, who got here ethically, morally, properly, and removing the protections and the promises that we gave them, that we promised them, and then saying, sorry, no more. We're going to send you back to the place we said we'd protect you from. Is that who we are? That's what I really, truly want to know. Is that who we are? Because that's the question at hand. That's what it's required. What's up, Edith? How are you? No problem, Jacqueline.
I'm sorry.
You didn't
I was
need to?
just tapping.
No worries.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. Yep, both of them were tapping, and I appreciate the taps and all the things. But do y'all hear what I'm saying? Right? I know that it's not popular for people, and I know that people oftentimes would rather hear arguments and debates and people la da 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 da, right? But I literally had Brett Cross on here last week. Brett Cross lost his son, Uriah. Right? Did I say his name right? Because it's crazy. I can see his headstone in my head, but want to make sure I'm saying the first name properly. But I had Brett Cross on here with me on TikTok. Uzziah. Thank you. Y'all got all kinds of names going in here. But I had Brett on here, and he talked about people saying to him, you didn't really lose your child. You're a paid actor. Uzziah, thank you. Can you all imagine having people tell you that you're very real, very incredible, very loving, thank you, just nice, Uzziah Garcia, child didn't really exist, and that you're faking it, that it's not a real thing? Can you imagine such a thing? And who do you have to be? Who do you have to be to say those things? I look at Alex Jones, and for me, he's unforgivable. I look at Alex Jones and what he did to the parents of Sandy Hook children. It's unacceptable. It's inexcusable. No worries, Bastrop, right? If you haven't watched the Alex Jones documentary that is on, I believe it's on Prime, I want you to watch it, because you watch the evolution of who Alex Jones is. You watch him find his way into lying about people and issues and things, and it's horrendous. How would we feel as a country if the rest of the world started telling us that 9/11 never happened? How would we feel as a country if the rest of the world started saying 9/11 never happened? You guys are just faking it. That wasn't real. You guys brought those towers down yourself. And there are people who say that, right? There are conspiracy theorists who say that because of the way they fell, right? I think about how hypocritical we are. When it comes to 9/11, we say never forget, right? We say never forget. But when it comes to Sandy Hook, when it comes to Parkland, when it comes to Uvalde, we don't say never forget. We say let's move on. We say parents, lock your pew-pews up. Get over it, right? What in the world? How is the greatest country in the world still dealing with something 30 years later? Columbine was what, y'all? 1997? Right? Was Columbine 1997? It is about to be 2027, y'all. Now we can figure out, we've got billionaires that can spend the money to put penile-shaped ships into space, but they absolutely can't figure out how to have proper legislation, common sense, safety regulations, right? I'm just saying, Jeremiah, they are. 99, not 97, got it. But you see what I'm saying? Where in the absolute hell are our priorities? Where are we? What are we doing? I frankly don't care if there's life on Mars if we're not protecting life on Earth. I don't care what resources are on Mars if we are eliminating the resources on Earth. Right? If there's a single person watching this and you say, I support what the Trump administration is doing with regard to undocumented immigrants, I'm going to say this to you and you will not like it, but do not refer to yourself as a Christian because there's nothing Christ-like about this behavior. Let me say that again. There is nothing Christ-like about this behavior. You will never convince me, ever convince me that Jesus will be okay with this. Never. None. I don't care how many times you put Christ-like Christian conservative on your social media profiles. I don't care how many times you say it, how many scriptures you post, how many times you go to church on Sunday. I do not care the size of your Sunday best hat or your shoes. I don't care. What I know is the fruits of your spirit, and that will be the measure of your judgment. Period. Right? For those of you all who talk about what a patriot you are, how much you love this country, if you say that and you support this administration and the actions that it is taking, if you support Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense, you, my friend, first of all, are not my friend, and you are not a patriot. You're a nationalist. And those two things are not the same. Patriotism and nationalism are not the same thing. They're not. So I'm just like, there's no other way for me to say it. And I will have a conversation with anyone that disagrees with me. I will have a respectful, thank you, okay, Kristen. I will have a respectful, fact-based, source-documented conversation with you to back up the things I'm saying. We can get out the Bible and the Constitution and have a conversation all day long. We can do that. I'm here for that. And it will be done respectfully. Right, kingdomhood. What you do to the least of me, you have done unto me. What to the least of them, you have done unto me. 100%. But it will be a Bible and Constitution conversation. 100%. Right, Mr. Barrios. I got time today. I got time any day for that conversation, to be honest. And I will make the time. Donna Ski, not. She said no chat GPT scholars. We had one of those last night. A guy trying to bring me his sources, and his sources was chat GPT. And then he didn't understand why I said no, sir. No, sir. Yeah, like that really happened. It really did happen. And then his other source was some damn caricatures from some newspaper that was printed back in however long. Sir, that is not a source. Somebody's drawing is not a source for factual information. No, sir. No, sir. We're not doing that. What's up, Stacy D? You got a better connection now?
Yeah, I moved and got a better connection. Okay, so,
Hello?
squirrel. I don't want to derail the conversation, but I had a question when we're talking about these conversations that we're having and so how great it today has been. There's sometimes it's the simplest question that will derail us. I know it does me sometimes when it comes to race and racism. So when people say, looking at me and assessing my life,
I'm a mess.
like,
I'm a loser. I'm a hater.
sing it, girl.
Children, good Lord.
And they say, I don't see it. I don't see the racism. Like, what is going on that I'm missing? Where is the racism that everybody is screaming and hollering about?
Right.
And it always takes me off guard because I'm just in the moment. I'm like, what?
Like where do you know what my immediately, as soon as you said that, do you know what popped in my head?
What?
Where are you looking?
Right. But they're looking at, that's why I said they're looking at me in the totality of my life or what they believe my life to be, like
Yeah.
the shiny version of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just don't see it. Like, what is it? And then, if you go to, well, look at George Floyd and look at, the big things that that have been in the news that we all know about.
Yeah.
They're like, well, aren't they like that was terrible, but that's like an isolated incident. I think that most people are generally good people. Like, I just don't see this racism that Black people say is everywhere.
Right. Yeah. And so this would be my thing, right? Is I would simply ask, do you see oh, thank you, Jesse. I would my response would be, well, so do you see never mind, I started to say something really crazy. Let me not, because somebody would be like, that Dani, yeah, let me stop. I almost crossed the line. Let me bring it back. Because sometimes that happens. But so if somebody says to me, well, when I look at your life, I don't see the racism. My next question would be, so what are you looking for? What to you is an indicator of racism? What does racism look like to you? How would you spot it? If you saw it, what would it look like?
Right.
Right? Because they don't know.
Right.
They
well,
don't
to
know.
them, it's like running around saying the N-word and white hoods.
Yeah. And that's one form of it, right? But so racism is like, spotting racism is like walking down the cereal aisle, right? So if I'm walking down the cereal aisle and racism is real sugary cereal, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. When I walk down the aisle, I know when I look at Reese's Puffs, that is racism, right? Because it's named after a damn candy bar, right? But I don't recognize it in the Raisin Bran, right? Okay. It's understanding that it looks different. It comes in many different names and designs, and it looks different, right? It is, and it can be subtle. It can be subtle, right? It's like that's to me, just because in my brain, this is y'all know me, the way that I would say it is, okay, so here's what I want you to do for me. I just want you to imagine standing in your grocery store Do you shop at Kroger's, Harris Teeter's? Do you go to Publix? Do you go to a Food Lion? Where do you go to the store? Have you ever been down the cereal aisle in your store? And they're going to say yes. I would say, okay, so let me ask you this. So can you imagine being there? So remember the last time you were in the cereal aisle? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's just say for the sake of conversation, I see, baby. Let me help you. Come over here. You're turning me around. Let's just say for the sake of conversation that racism is sugar.
Check my phone.
Right? I see.
See, and you make it too fast, right?
Yeah, you did make it so fast.
No, no.
You're making it go so fast?
Not that video.
That video?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Put this on. There you go. We needed help after we went to the potty, y'all. So, okay. Okay, you got him? All right, pull him up, girl. All right, so, and I would have them visualize it, and I would say, understanding the level of what you're looking at. It's the difference between getting a black coffee and getting a damn caramel macchiato.
Right.
Right? They both have caffeine, right? But they can be different. And so that's the thing that we have to get people to understand the levels and the way that it is packaged and the way that it looks and the way that and the cost of it is different, So I like to use those everyday examples. But the first thing that I would ask is, so if you saw racism, what would it look like?
Right.
Because they're oftentimes going to describe to you overt racism. They're going to describe to you George Floyd or the Triple K or white hoods or those types of things. But is that the only kind of racism that you know?
Right.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. Sometimes I think you're just amazed that people act like they don't see it.
It throws me off every single time. And because it is so insidious and pervasive in our culture, like sugar,
Yeah.
it is hard to, your mind just races.
Yeah.
And as you don't want to go down like a rabbit hole of how, okay, well, this policy, well, this did this and this did that. And then back with the Dixiecrats, and then you're like, okay. I'm like,
that's a lot.
Right, because it's a lot. And it's a lot for me to be able to get my head around, to be able to articulate and explain in a meaningful, productive way. And it's a lot for them to absorb. Like, they're looking at me like, what? Can you just help me understand what it is that, like, how you are so oppressed in this life? Because when I look at you, Stace, I gotta be honest. I don't see the oppression. I don't see the oppression, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I can give them examples like,
are these women normally talking to you?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
And it's never combative, right?
No.
It's never, right? It's like they're like, okay, like, real talk, all right? Can I just ask you something, right? Like, you're not gonna get mad at me, right? So like, you're not gonna be mad at me, right? Oh, yeah. Then I take a big sigh, like, oh Lord, okay, all right.
Yeah.
What you got? What you got? But I can tell them examples like how not that long ago, like within the last 3 months, like it was still chilly outside. I met a friend at his neighborhood watering hole because we were going to discuss some acting stuff. And this is a large YT man that is like Teddy Bear if you know him, but if you don't, you might be like, he said where he lived, and he suggested this watering hole, and I was like, where is it? And when he told me, I was like, okay. And I immediately thought, I agreed to go, because my second thought was, well, I'm with Jez. I'm good. Like, no one is messing with me, especially if this is his watering hole. They may not like me, but they're not going to mess with me. But I immediately, as I was putting on my shoes and grabbing my stuff, thinking, am I going to be safe here? Is this a place where I would be safe? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So I could say that to the person, and they could be like, because that's what they all do. They do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just, right? And so I would immediately follow that with, we sat there, the waitress came over to us. She didn't look at me. hey, how you doing? What are you guys having?
Yeah.
What are you guys having? But she would not look at me.
But remember,
That happened twice.
Yeah.
Then I said, I'm going to get the next round. I went up to the bar. There are like maybe 12 people in this whole bar. I go up, I stand at the
and
bar.
you're waiting.
There's nobody else asking for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on the other side of the bar comes in. I move to right behind the register. So now you have to see me and I've got my card in my hand.
Right.
She would not make eye contact other than just to check to see if I was looking.
Yep.
And eventually I was like, okay, I'm not going to stand here much longer. I'm not standing here. And I went back and I sat down and I said, I tried, friend, but your friend won't wait on me. And he looked at me and he wasn't incredulous. He just stopped. And I said, if you notice, she's been to this table 2 or 3 times. She has not once looked at me. And I couldn't get her to serve me beers that she knew were for you and for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked at me and he was like, I think you may be right. I'm really sorry. And I said, you wouldn't know, right? If you and yours are the only people that ever come here, you would never have the opportunity to observe the behavior.
So this would be my question. Did you say to him, don't apologize, could you just go ask her why she didn't wait on me? Because that at that moment, that's his responsibility. That's within his circle of influence. And then it's his responsibility to share that experience with everyone in his circle.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct. I didn't think to ask him I didn't give him his marching orders, like, now go fix it, right? Because I feel like that's what it would have felt to me. I was kind of I thought I knew who he was.
You gave him a pass, though.
I guess I did give him a pass, but it was more so because I was relieved that he was who I thought he was, that he did not push back.
Girl, you was happy with what you got. You was like, at least he wasn't one of those, right?
Exactly. It was refreshing. It was refreshing because we walk through these spaces because of the racism we're trying to articulate in a simple way to these people. We walk through the world with our head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Because like people say with men, until it's none, it's all. Yes. Until it's no white folks are racist, y'all are all potentially racist and a danger to me. So while he had never given me a reason to believe he was,
right,
and while we had shared some interactions that made me believe, and I know he hates Donald Trump and he's a liberal, I was interested to see what he would do when confronted in that moment. And so many people that I believe those things about, in the moment, they become so uncomfortable because they think it's an indictment of them, they immediately push back. And I was grateful that he did not push back. He just kind of sat with that for a couple seconds. And he's like, yeah, I think you're right. And I'm really sorry.
And then my next question would be, do you feel comfortable doing anything about it?
Yeah. I would probably, if I had asked him to do anything, I would have probably, because I think in that moment, not everybody is equipped to act in the moment, and that's his watering hole. So I trusted that the next time he came in
Girl, no, I don't trust nothing. That's that head on a swivel. Absolutely not. I keep saying this, if it makes you uncomfortable to address it, great. I want you to be uncomfortable. If you don't handle it exactly right the first time, great. Get your practice on. Get your practice on getting your people together. Get your practice on. Every damn day. Listen, this is the thing. Yeah, because here's the thing. The next time he goes in there, it's going to be the same white people in there with him that's in there all the time. He ain't going to be thinking about that one time that Stacey was there. And if he is, there's no one there that's going to remind him that he should do something about it. He's going to be comfortable.
Right.
And we do not grow in comfort.
Right. It's true.
And so that's my thing is you can't get a pass. I can't. And this is so like I knew when I went back. So after the healthcare protest, I knew when I went back to talking about all of the issues that I usually talk about, that I was going to lose followers. I knew there were going to be white people back home that were going to be like, that Dani, she's a crazy liberal. I mean, she was right about Ballard Health, but she ain't right about nothing else. I knew, right? And that just what it was going to be. I knew when I said that if you vote for Donald Trump, you are not my friend. There would be people that are offended. And I don't care, be offended. Because you cannot be my friend. You cannot. My friends do not vote for people who are attacking me every day. My friends don't vote for people that use dog whistles every day. My friends don't vote for people that support targeting the families of my grandchildren and myself. So you can't. And it's not that I'm being mean. It's not that I'm hurtful. It's not that I'm just being direct. And direct can make people uncomfortable. Good. Be uncomfortable. That's what, because guess what? I'm uncomfortable every damn day. I'm uncomfortable in your watering holes. I'm uncomfortable in your stores. I'm uncomfortable driving down the damn street. I'm uncomfortable when I'm shopping. I'm uncomfortable when I walk into your schools. I'm uncomfortable. So be uncomfortable. Be as uncomfortable as we are every damn day. Then maybe you'll do something about it because you'll want to be comfortable.
Correct.
Yeah, that's just, and so like I say that to say I understand the place of, like it's a sense of relief that that person is who you thought they were. Mila, stop screaming. And we have to stop accepting the bare minimum. We have to stop being grateful that you're not racist.
Right.
We need to be requiring you to be anti-racist. It is not enough to not be racist. You must be more than not racist. Yeah, we have to stop being grateful for the bare ass minimum from people.
Yeah.
I want you to be Jeremiah. I want you to be big bearded, tattooed, white Jeremiah coming up in a TikTok live and saying, "Can I ask you a question? How best can I be your ally? How best can I help? What do I say? What do I do?" I want you to be Jeremiah. And if you're not Jeremiah in my life, you're not my friend.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is, because we are still friends and we're still working on a project together, I'm going to tell him, I'm like, listen, that thing that I shared with you, the next time you go, I know you go there often and I know it's been a minute, but I need for you, when you go back in there and that waitress comes over, I need you to confront her.
And here's the way, the way that I would share it, Stacey, I said, I got to share something with you. You remember the last time we were at that watering hole of yours and the thing happened and you go over it, right? And he says, yeah. I would say, this is so crazy, but I found myself on a TikTok live the other day. And I was sharing that because we were having a conversation. This white dude, Jeremiah, had jumped up and he had asked how he could be an ally. And it reminded me in that moment what kind of allyship I need from my friends like you. Right? So now it's not I need you to do this. It's, do you want to be like Jeremiah? Because when I saw that type of allyship, I was like, God, I need more of that in my life. And I realized that at the time, and I would really share this, Stace, I would say, I realized at the time, I was so grateful to find out that you weren't racist. I didn't expect you to defend me. I didn't expect you to correct them. I didn't expect anything different. I was happy with the bare minimum, and I don't want to be that person. And I don't want you to be the person that gives the bare minimum.
Yes.
Yep. Right.
100%. 100%. Thank you for that insight. If we could,
yes, baby.
I'm gonna continue to think about kind of nuggets, digestible nuggets that I can point out, like three examples of racism every day that white folks don't observe.
100%.
Because it's not Reese's Pieces.
Right, because it ain't Reese's Puffs. Right, exactly.
Reese's Puffs. So you don't clock it. And that's not necessarily your fault.
Yeah.
Because why would you?
Yep.
But you asked me, and so I'm telling you, like, maybe I'll say, pay attention to the next time you see someone, just like Hazel said, when you see someone get served before you. Yeah.
Or when you get served before someone else.
Right.
Pay attention when you walk up to the bar to buy your round. See who's been who's there when you get there, and who gets waited on and who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Watch for eye contact and see what you find.
Right.
And another way that I talk about this too is like, especially, that's why I asked you if it was women, right? Because women understand sexism.
Right.
They understand that people will say, "Oh, I don't see sexism all the time," and da 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 da, and what's wrong with complimenting? It's just a compliment, girl. Right? Women know. Every woman knows what it's like to be told to smile more often. Right? And so
Right.
it's about having that conversation as well with them, right?
And how would they feel if someone was like, I mean, what is the sexism you're talking about? I just don't see it.
100%. 100%. And that's the place of connection, right? When we said listen for connection, that's the place of connection. It's oftentimes finding something in that person's life that they experience that is the parallel to yours.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I love you as
Love
always.
you.
All right. So a couple of things, guys, before I kind of wind things down and wrap up. I can tell you this: I for sure will be back on TikTok this evening. I will not be back on YouTube and Facebook tonight. So if you want to see me this evening, you need to find your way to TikTok. Okay, it is at the Dani Cook on TikTok. A couple of things. You might have heard me say earlier that the podcast, which is the Dani Cook Show, hit 11,000 downloads. That is fantastic and amazing. I would love to see by the time I get to the end of June, because that will be a like 5.5, almost 6 months, right? I would love to see that number hit 15,000. That would be a huge thing for me, right? So thank you guys. I appreciate it. So listen to the podcast, right? Your sleep is off. I'm sorry, Sandy, but I will be back this evening. And my plan this evening is to be at around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the time. Not 7, it's going to be 8. 7's too soon. I'll still be doing dinner with them and all the things, but 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is going to be what it will take for tonight. Like, share, download the podcast. All of those things are, I can relate, Sandy, are very helpful for me, right? Go to my link tree. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're on TikTok, you're very welcome, Beresford. In my profile is my link tree, right? Thanks, Teresa. Go to my link tree. There's a little video controller, little icon, right? That is how you join my Discord. You can click it, you can copy and paste the link, but you can join that community. There's a little verification process that you go through, and at the end, you are given the option to subscribe if you haven't. Let me say this. I am not oblivious to the times that we are living in. I know what it costs to buy eggs, right? If you cannot do $3 a month and subscribe, please do not feel guilty about that. Swear on everything good and holy. I appreciate every person that participates in this, and I appreciate subscribers. They know what they do for me. I share it. We talk. They know what they get. They listen. They sent some gifts for the kids when they graduated, when Dominic graduated from school, and Bella, and their test scores, and like all of those things are appreciated. I just want you to understand that for me, every person is valuable in this journey. When you, it is very challenging, Sandy. It is very challenging. I do that as well. But every person, whether you are tapping your fingers to the bone, whether you are sharing to get to 1,000 shares and 500 shares and all of that, whether you are sending gifts on TikTok, however you are supporting, it is more than appreciated, just so you know. Please take advantage of the resources that I put into the link tree. If you have not looked at the email templates that are there, if you haven't looked at the Medicaid graphics that are there, they are free, and they are available for you to use. This is how we are going to build community. This is how we are going to rebuild connection, rebuild compassion, rebuild empathy, and it will have an impact in the voting booth. Because when we change, how we vote changes. How do I know that? I used to vote for people like George Bush. Now I don't. that is how I'm sorry, y'all. I couldn't resist, but it's true, right? It is true. I did. Don't judge me. We listen and we don't judge.
Go.
Okay, let me go handle these girls. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Appreciate you very much. And I will see you guys on TikTok later on tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, thank you very much.